Good morning. In today's video, I'll discuss a very important news which has come that China and Pakistan are looking at an alternate to SAARC. Now, alternate to SAARC is already there. It is a better alternate. China has been working on it for a few years and it is called China Indian Ocean Forum, where South Asia will play a very prominent role. Before I discuss this, there is a background that needs to be understood. India left SAARC in 2014. That year, the SAARC summit was in Kathmandu, where three member countries, Pakistan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, proposed that China, which had observer status, be elevated as a full member of SAARC. India did not accept that, and India had already made up its mind then to leave SAARC. And the opportunity to do so formally came in 2016 when the Uri attack happened, and same year the SAARC summit was to be held in Islamabad. India did not go for that, and being the biggest country in SAARC since then, SAARC has been comatose. So after leaving SAARC, India focused on BIMSTEC, and the reason for that was that the thinking of the Modi government is that India is a rising country, a rising power, so it should have strategic reach. And the only place that it can have strategic reach is the Indian Ocean region. And it so happens that the Americans also are focused in this region through their Indo-Pacific strategy, worked well for the Modi government. Now, India focused on BIMSTEC instead, and External Affairs Minister Jay Shankar explained that BIMSTEC aligned very well with the Modi government's Act East policy, and it synchronized very well with the American Indo-Pacific strategy, of which Quad is a centerpiece. And after that, all the acronyms in the maritime domain to show its risen power that the Modi government has coined, things like SAGAR, things like FIPIC, which is Forum for Indo-Pacific Island Cooperation, though have been created by the Modi government, they all piggyback or they are connected in some way with the American Indo-Pacific strategy. And the American strategy is all about dominance. It is about its strength, which is military power. Where the Americans have offered, they offered the role of a net security provider, including for combat to India in the Indian Ocean region. India has happily accepted that, basically to be the military bulwark against China, and to be a part of that, India has already signed the Foreign Military Foundation Agreement. As I said, it is all about dominance. It is about America's global hegemony, of which India has become a part. So it talks about rule-based order, where rules have never been written. Rules are arbitrarily decided by America and everybody else follows it. Then it talks about free and open Indo-Pacific. But rest be assured, it will not accept China as a member of it, because it is actually directed against China, but these countries will not name China because they all trade with China. So when you are about military power, you are about dominance, and where your end objective is not very clearly defined, you know precisely where you are going in a multipolar world where the global south has many other options. Now let me look at the other side, what's going on. Now the other side is China. Now China has an entirely different concept. And China does not believe in this, in the same area what the Americans called Indo-Pacific. China talks of Asia-Pacific. And China includes Africa also as part of that. It's Asia-Pacific. And I'm only right now talking about the maritime domain that of the Chinese focus, because we are discussing the Indian strategic reach here. So what the Chinese did was that President Xi Jinping, in 2013, he announced the Belt and Road Initiative. So it had a component which is the land component and the maritime Silk Road. I'm only talking of the maritime Silk Road. In October 2013, Xi Jinping announced this from Indonesia. Indonesia was carefully selected by the Chinese because it separates Indian Ocean region with the Western Pacific. It's a founding member of ASEAN. It is the fourth populous country in the world, so it's a huge market. It's a growing economy. In fact, the first Alibaba cloud export was done to Indonesia, and today we know Indonesia is a full member of BRICS. Then we know, as far as South Asia is concerned, Sri Lanka joined BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, in 2013, Maldives joined in 2014, Pakistan in 2015, Bangladesh in 2016, Nepal in 2017, and a MOU was signed for the Belt and Road Initiative with Afghanistan in 2016. So, leave aside India and Bhutan, all the countries of South Asia, they are on board BRI. Why? Because it is about development. It is about infrastructure building, it is about connectivity, it is about trade. And it is not that China does not get anything in return. China gets new markets. But the overall concept is what the Chinese called to develop a community of common destiny. That where not only China prospers, everybody else also prospers. So this is the whole game, very different from dominance. Here the game is what is called influence. Now when you talk of dominance, you are talking of spheres of influence. Entirely different concept. When you are talking of influence, what this means is that the more countries the Chinese technology goes, their connectivity goes, those countries will be sensitive. All the countries will be sensitive to Chinese core concerns and Chinese foreign policy, and that is what is called influence. It has nothing to do with military power. Now, having given this broad thing, now we look at the Chinese vulnerability in the Indian Ocean region, which is huge. Because annually 3 trillion worth of Chinese trade passes through the Indian Ocean region. And there are 3 choke points there. One is the Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, and we also saw that when the trade goes through the South Africa, along South Africa, it goes through the Mozambique channel. And there, if there is a bottleneck gets created, and that is a sort of a vulnerability. So this is that area which is the Western Indian Ocean region that has to be protected very well by the Chinese. And this is precisely what they are doing. And after that, that trade goes all along the Indian Ocean region, then goes to Strait of Malacca on to the Western Pacific. That's a different thing altogether. I am only focused on this area, Indian Ocean region, as I said, because this is where the Indian presence will be most. Now with this background, let's come to China Indian Ocean Forum. Now this was started in 2022, the first meeting of this with 19 members. It was held in China, and after that each year in 2023, 2024 they've had a meeting. And the choice of these nations which are part of Indian Ocean region is very interesting and needs to be understood. Now when we look at South Asia, as far as the land component is concerned, all the small neighbors, they do not have connectivity with one another. They all have connectivity only with India. But when you look at the maritime component of South Asia, you realize that there are 4 countries which are connected through the sea, which is called the global commons, and they are Pakistan, Maldives, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Now Nepal is landlocked, but Nepal is connected to Bangladesh, unfortunately through the Siliguri corridor, so that is India sitting there. Which is why Nepal joined the Belt and Road Initiative last in 2017, because they were also looking at the direct connectivity between China and Nepal. Now, so here we also know that Pakistan and China, they are ironclad brothers, very close strategic ties. Now at Djibouti here in the Western Indian Ocean region, Djibouti is a big military base of China, what they call logistics base. And on the other side in Pakistan, there is Gwadar and there is Karachi. So what the Chinese did was, as I said, the priority had to be given to the Western Indian Ocean region. So here they have all these countries of South Asia which can play a very prominent role in this, and then Iran was also chosen to be part of the Indian Ocean Forum. Because Iran has in any case a very important geography which gives it a lot of geopolitical advantage, but that besides, Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz and the Strait of Bab al-Mandeb through its proxy, which is the Houthis of Yemen. So Iran is also part of that. In any case, the relations between China and Iran today are ironclad. And in fact, recently the Chinese have issued a statement after the 12-day war saying that they will protect their $400 billion investment in Iran. That means they stand by Iran openly. Now, after that, when we look at Oman, I'm looking at only now the East Africa coast, because this is where, as I said, right from South Africa, this is entire vulnerability, the Western Indian Ocean region. So what the Chinese did was that to have good communications in the Western Indian Ocean region, in 2022, the year that they had the first meeting of the Indian Ocean Forum, they laid a submarine cable as well. And that is called Peace, which is Pakistan and East Africa connecting Europe. Now this submarine cable, it starts from Gwadar and Karachi, it links it, and it comes all along the coast, the East Africa coast. And then from there it goes to Europe. So there is good communication, and in fact this will help a lot in the fourth industrial revolution when the Chinese technologies come here. So this is something that they did, and in any case all these countries, they have the facility of Beidou satellite constellation of Chinese available to them. So the point I am making is that South Asia plays a very prominent role in the Western Indian Ocean region strategy. So it is totally integrated in a way with the Indian Ocean Forum. Now then you can see on the sketch here all the countries which are there in the Indian Ocean Forum. Now the key thing about the Indian Ocean Forum is that, as I said, it's about development, it is about prosperity. So not only many of these are on board the Belt and Road Initiative, the Chinese also announced three big things, which is the Global Development Initiative in 2021, Global Security Initiative in 2022, and the Global Civilization Initiative in 2023. All these announcements were made by Xi Jinping himself. Now, Global Development Initiative is different from Belt and Road, because Belt and Road, as I said, is about infrastructure, it's about trade, and it is about creating new markets for the Chinese. Whereas the GDI, the Global Development Initiative, is human centric. It's about poverty, it's about education, it is about health of the countries which are part of the Global Development Initiative, and it links with the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So both the options are available to the countries to take their nation for peace and towards prosperity. As far as peace is concerned, the initiative is what is called the Global Security Initiative, which is about indivisible security, a concept that I have discussed in my earlier videos. The whole idea is that the ports of all these countries which are on board these Indian Ocean Forum, the ports have a dual use. They can be used for military purpose, they can be used for commercial, for trade. So this is what indivisible security is about, that you help me and I'll help you, that all the countries come inside the tent. That is, in very simple word, it's about. And then the Global Civilization Initiative is basically about China telling all the countries, we do not export ideology, we do not interfere in your internal matters. So this is that ideal situation for the global South countries to be there. Now, when you look at, as I said, the Indian Ocean Forum, you find Australia also there. Now, Australia formally did not send their representative to the Indian Ocean Forum, but they have a lot of interest in China. So, their unofficial representative was there. So, a different concept, community of common destiny, talking of influence. So, all the pieces were there. So everybody was aware about that SAARC is comatose. Everybody was aware that the Chinese are doing this Indian Ocean Forum. Then Sindoor happened, Operation Sindoor. And the big thing about Operation Sindoor was that the world saw that Pakistan emerged as a military peer competitor to India in that 4-day war. That was a big thing because that raised the geopolitical profile of Pakistan. And I think this is why the Chinese and the Pakistanis finally decided that Pakistan actually today appears, as far as military is concerned, military power, as far as their geography is concerned, which is essential for global geopolitics, and of course they have the back of China as a strategic alternate to India in South Asia. And South Asia, in any case, I have said the focus is no longer on land, it has come to maritime domain. So this is where all the pieces they fit in. So now the question is, when you look at all this, it is a possibility that all this will flourish. Why it will flourish is because most of these countries are global South countries, rather all countries are global South countries. They want peace, they want development. So there is no reason for them to leave this grouping, because they get not only the benefit of BRI, they also get the benefit of GDI, the GSI and the GCI, as I said. Now let's look at the other side, what's going on very briefly. Briefly, we had the Quad meeting in Washington where the joint statement, it mentioned Pahalgam, terrorism in Pahalgam, did not mention Pakistan because Pakistan profile obviously has gone up. Then we also saw Australia. In the joint statement, China was not mentioned because, as I said, Australia, for them, China is their primary trading partner for 16 years in a row. So for the Australian, obviously their economy comes first and they actually have no threat from China. Now look at the Japanese, I'm talking of the Quad members. As far as Japan is concerned, they are not happy with President Trump, because first of all, the Trump administration has told that you increase your defense budget from 3.5 to 5% of the GDP. They are not happy about it. In fact, a former Japanese Prime Minister went to the extent of saying that Japan wants peace and Japan would be happy not to have any of the American military bases on its soil. And we know Japan did not attend the recent NATO summit in Netherlands where it was invited. In fact, you look at America itself. Under the Trump administration, their entire foreign policy has changed. All that India was looking for, the back of the Americans, it is no longer there, because the entire strategic reach is based on the Indo-Pacific strategy of India being a net security provider. And here is President Trump, who has done two major things. One is that recently, I think it was last week, that because they need the Chinese rare earth mineral and magnets, the Americans have eased sanctions on their three major companies that do EDA, which is electronic design automation, which is required for chips of 7 nanometers and below, the high-end chips. They have eased the sales there. Now, the second, why they have done that is because President Biden in his entire term in his presidency, he never went to China. But Trump, there is news that Trump will be visiting China and he'll be taking a big delegation along with him to China. See, the point is China is indispensable for the world today for trade. And here are my 4 bottom line things that I want to say. The first is that Quad, which is, as I said, the centerpiece of Indo-Pacific strategy, I do not think it has any future under the Trump administration. And the Trump administration has just begun. It has total 4 years to go. Second is that all these Trump wars, the trade wars, they basically have handed over the world markets to China. More and more people, in fact, the EU delegation also is going to China now. And the third is that when we talk of global south rise, it is not about India. It is, they are dependent on China. They are dependent on China for trade. China is the largest manufacturing nation in the world. And then they are looking at the third and the fourth industrial revolution technologies also coming from China. And the last one is that the alternate to SAARC, it's very obvious to anybody to see, it is it's China Indian Ocean Forum, where, as I said, South Asia minus India will have a central role to play. Thank you so much.